$275 divided by how many kids are in the classroom. So that's what our per pupil cost would be, not what we have budgeted.
Well,
So
you would have had more than 20,000 budgeted at the time because you didn't know you were doing this in-house option at the time when you budgeted.
I think you're asking
You would have had more than
20,000.
20,000.
So for those students that we normally send out somewhere, we have money that, just as Mr. Soder shared, money in a pot, and we try to identify about how many kids are going to go out.
Right.
So we break it down by that amount. So we had budgeted and prepared in the 25-26 budget $20,000 per student for those placements like in Spring Grove. What you're talking about.
But you knew it was going to be more than 20,000. Why would you only budget 20,000?
What you're talking about is the in-house program.
No, I want to know what's already in the budget, and you're telling me it only costs $20,000 to send each student out?
That's what we budget for per student for outside
So you only
placements
had
for any disabilities.
$40,000 in the...
No, we didn't say that. For 2 students, it's $40,000.
That's what you had in
That's
the
right.
budget at the time, because you only knew of 2 at the time.
20,000 per student.
We only
don't
know 2 coming
anticipate
back.
only
We
Right,
have
I'm saying,
There's
when
several
you
other-
created this budget, you didn't know about the other 4. So 2 are budgeted in
We
there.
did not have any,
But you knew you had 2 this year, so you
Right.
would have had the 2 in the budget for next year.
correct, which is, it's a pot of money to be
Yeah.
used
Right.
as kids come and go. So
Right, so...
if you boil it down to a per pupil basis,
Right.
it would be essentially 20,000.
How
That's so
much should
much.
we pay Spring Grove this year for the 2?
But that's what we're saying. And
For the
you
2
said it was a
that
lot
we-
more than
About
30,000.
About 30,000.
But that's not what you told us last
So,
time.
Some
That-
districts charge different prices.
so some charge around 10,000, some charge around 30,000, some charge around 45. It just depends. So we equate it to an average of about $20,000 because Adams County charges different than York County, which charges different than
Yeah.
Franklin County, which is different than IU. So we give a pot of money per kids that we think we have coming and going from the district. 4 of these kids were unknown, which is part of this. 2 of them we did not know we had to bring back. So the money that was attributed in next year's budget is 20,000. So we have 40,000
20,000 for each
Per kid.
for all 6, or 20,000?
for 2.
2 that we knew of.
Correct. 4 of the unknown, we have no budgeted amount currently because they were unknown. Until
20,000
registration.
sounds really low
Correct.
compared to what you showed us last one.
This is brand new. So the
I'm
confusion,
not
I think,
confused.
so the confusion is, what we did with Dr. Fiaschi, because I worked with her on that, is we took the 275 and said, if we have 5 students, here's a per pupil cost for us to do it. Not what we have in
You
the
listed
budget.
all 3 of them. You said it was $55,000 in-house, and that was the cheapest.
Correct. That's if, so we identified that 1 teacher and 2 teaching assistants and some supplies is 275, 5.
275.
That's
divided by 5,
Right, I'm saying,
55.
and you had it $55,000
That-
per student, and that was the cheapest. And
That's-
then you had higher amounts, it was like $75,000 per student
And
for
all that's
private
now off the
institution.
table.
The problem is that was a non-budgeted number we gave you.
But
This is we're looking to add,
I understand that, but
Only-
you had at least 2 in the budget that should be subtracted.
which is
Because
40,000.
it's not an additional $275,000.
Which we're saying is $40,000. It's not 55 per
Sounds
student.
awfully low to me, okay.
We're saying we can do it
I know.
in-house
I know
per
what
kid
you're
for
saying.
55,000.
Right.
And the cheapest option is not the in-house, the cheapest option is to send students out
To another
to another
school
district.
district, because they already have the program, they already have the kids. Just like we showed on the thing, if we brought in more kids in-house, or more kids from out in other districts, our costs would also reduce.
Well,
And it
yeah.
would be, but they already have the full classroom, they have all 8 kids, or they had 6 of their own plus 2 of ours, so that's the cheapest option, because they're paying for 6 of the kids, they're only prorating it for 2. For us, we're taking all 6 kids, and we're taking the brunt of that, so we have to take the majority of that. We can supplement that classroom if we have 2 open spaces with other district children to then help reduce our costs. So I think that's the difference is,
So what is your estimation for the class load for pupils going into this with the current reality?
currently we have 6 identified. We identified the classroom can hold a maximum of 8 students. So we can.
Okay, so you have 2 that we knew about and 4 that came in online this year.
Correct, and we could potentially have more students come in at any point in time from now throughout the whole school year next year. And we could be in the same boat where Spring Grove is with us. It says, we now have more kids, we can no longer accept yours. That's the reality of special education right now.
last meeting, there were, the LIU, the York Learning Center was on there, so you're saying York Learning Center won't take these kids?
They're not full-time students that need a center-based program. Like, I have to have a need to send them to a center-based program, and they do not fit those qualifications for a center-based program. It's not the least restrictive environment. So for example, those two kids who are at Spring Grove, they currently spend some time out in regular ed, but they're also in the autism class. So there's no reason to put them in a center-based program where they're never around any regular ed students. Because that's the most restrictive.
What percentage of the time are they in regular ed versus special ed?
Well, supplemental is any between 20 to 80% of special education. So itinerant is 80% out in regular ed, supplemental is anywhere between 20 to 80. Full-time is 80 and above.
What are the qualifications for an autism classroom teacher?
Well, what I'm looking for is somebody who has experience, who is ABA, understand ABA, which is Applied Behavioral Analysis, which might have some experience in VB mapping, which is a specific program that you use with students, who is very caring and understanding and understands the needs of the students. Learning support teachers, have that qualification. A lot of them just fall into autism and they enjoy it. They have some experience doing those programs.
So the certificate would be a learning support certificate?
Learning support certificate, yes.
How
Yes.
easy is it to get someone? Because there is teacher shortages and that kind of stuff.
Well, I'm not sure. I mean, I know,
That's
that's
No,
everybody.
put it out.
Well, I mean,
But
I
there
don't know.
is, yeah.
We're having
Well,
pretty much-
Bermudian just hired,
Yeah.
Judy said Bermudian just hired one.
I know.
Oh, Kanawha just took some of the IU teachers. They wanted to go work for a district, so they came over.
How many learning support and special ed teachers do we have at ACES?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
And what do all of them do?
They work, 1, 2, 3 of them work with other supplemental students. And then the other 3 work with regular itinerant learning support students, K through 5.
So the itinerant is they're most of the time out in regular ed, and then just
Yeah.
as needed.
Correct. Those teachers go in the classroom, provide support in the classroom. They pull the students, work on individual skills, progress monitor them. And then the other 3 teachers, their students are supplemental. They do go out, that's the intensive learning support. But the autism class is a different need, academic need.
Do you foresee a problem staffing this program?
The biggest problem I see at this point is finding TAs, paraprofessionals. I believe, as Dr. Fiaschi said, there are professionals that want to teach autistic support classes. A family friend of mine went to college, couldn't get a job in a school district, and began teaching in a private school autistic students. And then wound up getting a job at a public school where she's currently doing that. So there are people who specifically do this. I would say, knock on wood, we've been pretty successful so far in finding replacements for our current staff that we know that are out.
Is it a high turnover?
Is autistic support a high turnover?
Meaning, is a staffing issue, is it a high turnover?
I've not known it to be. Like I said, I think those folks feel that they have a niche,
Yeah.
and they feel that calling to help support those students.
Could there be a reassignment of a learning support teacher elsewhere in the district to become the autistic support teacher?
So if we look at any reassignment, we'd have to look at what needs all of our students have and how we're meeting those specific needs. So any student that has a learning support or an IEP has specifically designed instruction in their IEP. So we need to make sure that all of those students receive that. So our current design and structure accounts for all of those SDIs so that every single student that's special education receives the instruction that is written in that IEP, which is binding for them. So a reassignment would mean we may not have the resources to be able to meet all of those SDIs if we reassign. So right now, our learning support teachers are spread about as thin as they can be.
And
To meet those
we
SDIs.
also reassigned when we added the intensive learning support, reassigned when we added the emotional support, so there's like no more room to reassign.
And I would say those are all formerly LIU classes that districts are taking back because the LIU is not supporting them.
So, go ahead. No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
So what are the three, so the different classrooms of those three teachers that do supplemental are in? In the elementary school, you said there's three that do supplemental and
Yes,
three that are
one
like
teacher
10.
has K to 2, she has 10 students. Another teacher has 3 to 5, she has about 10, and the other teacher has K to 5, she's about 8 right now.
But that's based on need,
Right,
Correct.
correct.
like you can't intermix
Grade
between
levels
those
and-
classrooms and
But,
grade levels.
so what are the needs, are different ones like emotional support? ones are-
Yeah,
K-
like so emotional support, intensive learning support,
Regular learning support.
regular learning support, who's your third, supplement, emotional support?
There's 2 intensive learning supports,
Two
because one's
intensive,
K to 2 and one's 3 to 5.
And the, itinerant, is that the same thing?
No, so there's 1, 2, 3 itinerant learning support teachers who work with students K through 5. So one teacher works with kindergarten, first grade, one does second and third, and one does fourth and fifth. So they work with that group of students.
And they just go out with them to the classroom for the most
They're-
part?
It's both, it depends on the day and the need. They work in the classroom with the
They're
students at small group tables, teaching them. Like, they're just not in the classroom as another teacher, they're in there working with the students on skills. And then they'll pull them out into the room to work on very direct skills, progress monitor them, and reading, math, writing, they work on. So a student might have they need 45 minutes of extra reading, 45 minutes of extra writing, and another 40 minutes of math on top of that.
They would also support testing accommodation to make sure that whatever's listed in the IEP as a testing accommodation is provided for that student so the student can meet the IEP goals that are listed there. They're also going to make sure that they're instructing the teacher on what instructional strategies can be used and can't be used so that they're following the IEP. The IEP is a required document for those students, so we must meet that IEP goal. So those teachers that are itinerant teachers often have 20 to 25 or more students that they support within the classroom. That also means that they need to be on top of the regular ed teachers' lesson plans, what they're doing during that day. They need to receive the test ahead of time so they can do these things. They need to carve out time for students for extra support. So learning support requires a special person. It truly does. It requires somebody who is not afraid to do paperwork, who is not afraid to meet students' needs, and not afraid to advocate for what that student needs within a regular ed classroom or a learning support classroom. They work extremely hard. All teachers do, but I will say the amount of work that a learning support teacher does is mountainous. And I've got an educator here that's shaking his head because he sees it.
I would not switch in a day. I think I have a lot of work. I do not, in comparison, have much work. The paperwork is awful. I don't know, bless those people doing it. I really am. It's truly awful. But you should tell them what can happen to a district that does not meet.
Oh, no, we
Legal
know we have,
responsibility.
we know we have to
All
meet
right,
that
I just
responsibility.
want you to understand that too.
We know we have to meet
So
that
we have-
responsibility. I
so-
mean, we have to educate these children where they
Yeah.
are, there's no question.
We have to meet those SDIs as outlined in the
Mhm.
IEP, and that requires us to be very judicious in how that's done and what assignment. So Dr. Fiaschi has a very tough and challenging task when she works with Dr. Berryman and the building principals to say what learning support teachers are doing what, how they're meeting this, the goals and the SDIs that are in those IEPs.
Well, everybody agrees we have to do it. We have to do it, and we want to do it.
Yeah.
So, we don't have the option, we have to bring it in-house, so let's talk about it. You say we have to raise taxes. But,
That's
well,
one.
so the 275 is actually 235, because you've already got 40,000 in the budget. So we know that, so
Mhm.
it's really 235. And, historically, we do have a surplus, but I guess you won't talk about that till the audit's done. Now, I've talked to Mayberry, they do about 16 to 20 houses a year. It's at the at least 6,000 a house if you start at the basic. Is that in the budget? Any revenue coming in from Mayberry in the budget for the new
So-
houses every year?
So what we do within the budget is I get a record from the county that says, here's our tax base for the year. We include all those tax base in there at a 96% collection rate. We also try to capture all the interim tax bills as an estimation. So they are in there as an estimated interim. If they're on the tax rolls from that capture of the tax base, then yes. So sometimes we miss the mark of those interims because we get more, we get less. We don't know how many houses are going to change hands, essentially.
So next year's houses aren't built yet, so.
Correct. So we try to estimate how much money we will get as interim tax bills. It's a guess. I don't know how many houses will be
How
built
much
or
did you
change
guess?
hands.
How much did you guess for next year?
Without pulling it up, I don't know off my hand. I probably have.
Well, what's historical?
That is a good question. I don't know. Transfer tax, I know is 425 is typically. Interim is more of a caveat, which I probably have it here. So, bear with me a second.
I would not do a budget.
It
on
is
fantasy.
around,
It's not fantasy.
It
They
is,
said
especially
they
with
were 16 to
especially with an
20,000.
economy it's going in
No,
the
I'm
opposite
asking,
direction.
is it in there? That's all I'm asking.
Yes, oh,
I
I
didn't
know
say
you
put it
wanna
in there.
mention, okay,
I didn't say
okay,
put
my
it in there, I'm
apologies.
What's the
asking,
estimate?
what's in
Okay,
there?
okay.
so it is,
I misunderstood what you were
yep,
going after.
so interims is around, it's around $100,000.
And that's for Mayberry.
No, that's for all districts.
The whole district.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So anybody who would purchase a house, regardless if it's new or old, that would get a transfer tax, and then they would get an interim tax for whatever's prorated for the remainder of the year from July 1 until the remainder of the year, what they have to owe. You get that interim. I don't know how many that's gonna be. I never know how many houses are gonna be sold or transferred, or it's always a guess.
So the more people that we have move into Littlestown,
Yes.
the better it is for us receiving real estate tax and revenue.
So I use like always, I use a 3-year historical average and estimate how much we could see, because we kind of have a baseline, which is essentially around that $100,000 mark for incomes. It's the same thing like we do with transfer tax, since we don't know how many properties will transfer between owners. It's a best guess about historically where we have as an average baseline.
So I think what you were saying, Mrs. Ewing, without saying it, is we could count on some of that revenue coming in to help offset.
Well, I
some
wanted to
of
know,
this.
have you estimated any potential revenue? They know their build schedule for next year, they have to.
But they don't know
That's
how
I
many,
know.
how many,
Exactly, I understand that.
the caveat was they don't know how many will sell. So they have them, they have the lots available, whether they sell or not, it's up to how much Mayberry can market to Peterson. And
Usually, they sell it, and then they build it. So you know those figures.
But we don't know the 20 homes that we sold. They are estimating to build 20 homes based on
Right.
having 20 people purchase homes. If 18, they're only building 18. Like, I don't put in extra 20 homes saying that they're gonna do 20 homes a year.
I have a specific question for the administrators involving a specific staff member related to this. I
So
don't
if it's
do an
personnel, we
executive
would
session.
need to take an executive session to discuss personnel.
We're gonna take a executive session.
Stop.
Stop.
For the
charge
break.
personnel for this.
Say that.
Yes,
I
it's
know.
not.
They need